You know how they say that life and death is in the power of the tongue? Well, I can definitely contest to that because I done talked myself into and out of a lot of shit. Positive shit and negative shit. I'll give you an example. Like, I had, was it Florida? Right? Well, first, let's rewind it. I was here in sunny Colorado, right? And life got hard. I was going through an eviction. So did what I had to do. And I moved. I moved to Charlotte, which was cheaper. You know, I had family there. Everything was cool, but like I said, I was an over-the-road truck driver. So I spent 2 years there, but didn't even see the city for real because I was always working, right? But when you get home after being on the road for 8 weeks, 10 weeks at a time, the last thing you want to do is get out and go somewhere, right? Granted. So, relationship failed, so got back on the road, ended up getting into another relationship, and I moved down to Orlando. And everything was kind of up. From that point on, everything was up. You know, I switched jobs and got me some six-figure contracts and all of that. Was doing well for 4 years. And 2 years ago, I lost everything. Just overnight, lost everything. Ended up back here in sunny Colorado, a place that I absolutely didn't want to be in the first place. And I had to ask myself, why is this happening to me? Well, a lot of it happened because of my mouth. You know, there were times where, it wasn't fun on the road anymore. And I would just entertain the thought of, I'll say to myself and say out loud and tell people, like, I might just go ahead and hang these keys up, and retire from trucking and just go do something else. And then something will happen, some money will come up or whatever, and it'll change my mind. And I'll be rolling, I'll be having good momentum, making money, doing what I do. And then a slump will hit again, another slump will hit. And I was like, damn, I want to do this and I want to do that, but I absolutely don't have any time to do it. I don't have time to do anything I want to do. I might have to just go ahead and retire for real. I said that so much that when shit started to fall apart, like I started getting pulled in way stations, I started getting tickets, just for nothing, right? Started getting pulled over, all types of stuff, right? People lying on me on jobs, so I ended up getting forced out. So I ended up being forced to retire. And nowhere to go. Came back here to what I know, right? And when I actually sat down and I thought about it, I was just like, yo, why in the fuck did all this shit happen like this, right? I had to walk away from relationship. It did not serve me. It was actually to the point where it was detrimental. So to protect myself, I had to leave. And, that was heartbroken. That was heavy. I'm like, damn, what is going on? And I was sitting here thinking about it. 2 years ago, I'm just like, well, I did say, I wanted to retire. I did say on plenty of occasions that I don't want to drive anymore. I did say that I was tired of being on the road. I did say that I want to have a social life, that's not slaved or entrenched by this truck. I said all of those things. And I aligned my feelings to mean it. And regardless if I was ready or not, you know what I'm saying? My wish was granted. So, a lot of the good things that happened started from my mouth. Of course, I said, hey, I had a mantra that I started. I started driving in 2008. I had a mantra that I started 2010. And I said it all the way up until I retired. Well, until 2 years before I retired. Because then I had a new milestone. I said, I'm going to make my first meal behind the wheel. Meaning, I'm going to make my first $1 million behind the wheel of a truck. And I did that. I achieved that. You know what I'm saying? In my career, I probably have made close to $3 million in 17 years. You know what I'm saying? I did that. I spoke it, I meant it, and I put forth the effort. So, what I encourage you to do is I encourage you to pay very, very close attention to what you say to yourself, what you say to other people, and what you mumble out loud in regards to yourself and the things that you might want. Pay attention. You know what I'm saying? And if you can, write them down. Like the things that you feel real serious about, write those things down. And I guarantee you, it'll show up in your awareness in some shape, form, or fashion. And if it doesn't show up in your awareness, it'll happen to somebody else to show you that it's real or that it's possible. So, it was fun while it lasted. I love being on the road. You know what I'm saying? I love driving. And my new career path was, being a diesel mechanic. I tried it in 2011, but I was too early. It wasn't my time. So I got back on the road, and when I was forced out of the industry through my own wishes, unknowingly, I said, you know what, it might be the time. Let me try it again. And I did, and it's the time for it. When I first tried it the first time, they weren't hiring entry-level mechanics. They were hiring master mechanics. Everybody was looking for master mechanics. So now they'll pull a man under the bridge and train him. You know what I'm saying? There's such a shortage that I could have my pick of the litter. And went through the school, did all of that. Got reinvigorated, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to mechanicals, mechanical stuff. I got excited again, and I found another love, right? It got reignited because I like cars, I like trucks, I like motorcycles, I like tractors, I like dozers, equipment, I like anything with a motor for real. You know what I'm saying? The coolest shit to me would be somebody that straps a fucking 454 to a bar stool. You know what I'm saying? I'll be in there. I'm there for that. You need help doing that? Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So while I was going to school and while I was charting this path, I'm gonna send them this too. While I was charting this new journey, the second half of my life, I noticed that I started to feel overwhelmed again, like I did um, 15 years ago being here in Colorado, which was one of the main reasons why I decided to leave. You know, the fighting the homeless thing, that just made it so that I didn't have a choice but to leave. You know what I'm saying? But I also spoke that into existence too. You know, I would sit here and I would tell people how unhappy I was here in Colorado, how much I can't stand Colorado, how boring it is, this, that, and the third. You know, and I forgot all about it, and I talked myself into situations where I had to leave. You know what I'm saying? Because what you say, what comes out of your mouth, the universe will give it to you if you say it enough and if you mean it. When I say mean it, if you have your emotions, if your emotional space is lined up and your emotional energy is lined up to what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? It has no choice but to come into fruition for you. So I started to feel overwhelmed. And what I remembered was, you know, I would think about all the times on the road when I was actually happy, when I was content. And those are the times where I was rolling through different places where I had no clue of or didn't even know exists. I mean, I'm talking about like empty space where, you know, no towns around, just out in nature. You know what I'm saying? How you doing? You know, just out in nature. And I'll just roll the windows down, feel that summer breeze, and smell the sweet air. You know what I'm saying? And have my music cranked up, and I just looking at the plains and looking at the mountains and looking at the rolling hills, and you know, just like, damn, this is a beautiful fucking country. And those were the times when I felt at complete peace. So what it made me realize is maybe I'm not tired of Colorado. Maybe I'm just tired of living in the city. And which is funny because, you know, one of my power of speaking, one of the companies that I wanted to work for or work with in my career was Caterpillar, right? And I mean, I'm familiar with Caterpillar as far as diesel engines are concerned because that's how I learned how to drive. I learned how to drive on a Caterpillar. You know what I'm saying? A C15, and it was a 10 speed. That's how I learned how to drive, and from that point on, I just fell in love with them. So fast forward 17 years, I kept applying to Caterpillar. They had an ad. Well, I sound old. Not an ad. They had openings, and I applied about 5 times. They had entry level positions. They had apprenticeship programs, and I didn't get any of those. Right? I said, all right, fine. Like I'll try again later. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get discouraged to say, well, I guess it's not for me. I just say, you know what, I'm gonna try it again later. I'm gonna go a couple of months through this, you know, a couple more months in school, and go to the job fair, and I'm gonna talk to every single Caterpillar representative I can find out here at these job fairs, at this school host, and you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna shake their hand. They're gonna get to know me. You know, they're gonna get to know my face. I'm gonna hand them my resume and, you know, give them my spiel, and you know, it's gonna happen. So I put so much energy and effort into getting into a job at Caterpillar. I'm talking about turning down other jobs and other opportunities. I'm like, nah, don't want that. Nah, I don't want that. Because I know me. If I don't get what I want, then I'm not going to put forth the energy into maintaining something. I'm not going to do that. I've always been like that. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I stood my ground, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna get in the Caterpillar. I was telling people all that, and an opportunity popped up working for a mining company, and I'm just like, okay, that sounds interesting. That sounds cool, you know. And I started to do a little research, and I see how big these machines are, working on earth movers and stuff, which is funny because that's what I said I wanted to do. I said, you know what, I'm sick of trucks. Trucks hurt my feelings, right? Trucks hurt my feelings. I did trucks for 17 years. You know what I'm saying? So I want to do something else. I'd rather work on, you know, earth movers or something. Well, that opportunity came up, you know, working at the mine. And I was turning down a lot of truck jobs too. A lot of turning wrenches for trucks and stuff. Yeah, I turned down a lot of them. And did some research, started seeing these earth movers and stuff, and I got excited. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do, definitely. You know what I'm saying? And the mine, they had a tour. So I went, took the tour, fell in love with the place. It's just so massive. Everything's so massive in there. And it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the mountains. And I'm like, this is probably where I want to be. And I remember when we were on the bus driving up to the mine, you know, I was feeling that nostalgic feeling again, going through the mountains. And, you know, I felt free. I felt this feeling of freedom. And I was just like, yeah, I think I might just need to get out of the city. So they have an apprenticeship position open. I applied for it, got it, right? Cool. And now I have to move so I can go to work. And I'm getting what I asked for. I'm gonna be moving out of the city. I'm gonna be in the mountains. You know what I'm saying? In nature. So I've already said, well, while I'm out there, I'm going to do what people that are out here do. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna learn how to fish. I'm gonna learn how to hunt. I'm gonna be more outside. I'm gonna get more in tune and more in touch with nature. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna love it. And depending on how much I love it, I might stay here in Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Or if I decide to move somewhere else, it's definitely not going to be in a major city. It'll be close to a major city, but it'll be on the outskirts, right? So I told that story just to, you know, just to show you that, you know, the universe records everything that you say out of your mouth. It records it, and if you put forth any mental energy and emotional energy into that thing, it will come into fruition. The universe will grant it for you. So be careful of that. Only speak about things that you want. And the things that you don't want, you have to learn how to build a system within yourself to transmute that energy and put it wherever you want it. You know what I'm saying? You know, bad things happen to people who talk and think about bad things happening to them. That's all. It's that simple for real. You know what I'm saying? So if you want good things to continue to happen to you, then only think about good things happening to you and only talk about good things happen to you. And when bad things happen to you or unfavorable things, then talk about those unfavorable things happening to you as a good thing. I'll give you another example. Like early in the video, I said, you know, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. That's turning negative energy into a positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Saying, okay, well, I lost my job, I lost my truck, I had to close down my company, my trucking company. I lost 6-figure contracts. instead of saying I lost, I say, well, you don't lose anything that's yours. That's transmutation. If something's for you, then it'll be yours. Oh, this girl left me, and these kids hate me, blah 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 blah. Well, if a woman left you and she wasn't for you in the first place, she wasn't yours, it was just your time. See, saying things like that is how you transmute that energy from a negative into a positive. You know what I'm saying? So if you keep that mentality, those things won't happen as often at first, and then they won't happen at all, because you'll be consciously prepared for what may come. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to relationships, right? Let's say you just like, well, if you really believe that, a woman or a man that left you isn't really yours in the first place, then when holes start to happen, or when things start to happen, big major things start to happen in the relationship that signal that this is going to be the end, you're not really you're not bent out of shape too much about it. You're just like, okay, this was fun while it lasted. It's ran its course. So you're more prepared emotionally and mentally for the inevitable, and you won't be as hurt. You won't be as broken or beat up. So learn how to do that. Learn how to build systems within yourself, so that when things happen to you, it don't seem like the whole entire world is coming to an end. And if you don't know where to start and you need help, just hit me up. Let me know. I will help you out. I will point you in the right direction. I'll also tell you what worked for me, and I'll tell you what I've seen work for other people. But you have to try it. You know what I'm saying? You have to start somewhere, and you can't be too wrapped up when things don't work out, because when you experiment, you're things that might work for somebody might not work for you, but you'll never know if they will work for you unless you try them. So don't be scared to experiment. You can't fuck it up. You can't get it wrong. You know what I'm saying? The universe actually helped those that help themselves. It says that in the Bible too. God only helps those that help themselves. So if you're helping yourself, you're never doing anything wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's never, you're never doing anything bad if you're helping yourself to become better. You know what I'm saying? So even when you do things incorrectly, you're not going to fall flat on your face. The universe is going to give you remedy. It's going to say, okay, it don't work this way. So what you're going to have to do is do this, do A, B, and C, and then come back to D. It'll give you the method. It'll give you the blueprint. You just have to start trying things, seeing if it works, seeing what works. So remember, you're the master of your own ship. You're the master of your own universe. You're the captain of your own ship. And also, I'm just a teacher. I'm not a leader. It's your job to lead yourself. Peace.